First things first, North Dakota. Wasn't the best game, right? I'm not going to be the first person to tell you it was the best game, but what I will tell you is the sky is not falling, right? Did we have some problems? Absolutely. Did NATO to experiment with some lineups in ways that I did not agree with? Absolutely. However, I still think that this team's best basketball is ahead of it, right? I think that part of our issue at the start of this game is I have no clue what the lineup was to start. Mark Sears, Darion Reed, Jaron Stevenson, Grant Nelson, and Cliff Amore should never be on the floor at the same time. Those four guys do not meld together even a little bit. At the end of the day, we've got to kick Jaron Stevenson out of the starting lineup. If you want to start Darion, I understand. LeBaron Philon should have started. LeBaron Philon should never come out of the starting lineup unless he's hurt or you're trying to prove a point. Nothing was ever mentioned about LeBaron being in trouble, but it's the only thing that makes sense as to why he was out of the starting lineup in this game. He's been incredible out of the starting lineup. He does not need to be removed. It just makes zero sense to me why he wouldn't be there. He had a good game, right? He scores 16 points. He's your third leading scorer. He has 2 steals, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, no turnovers, right? Like, he's a good player. He's got to be in the starting lineup, right? In my opinion, one of your better lineups is going to be him. And then I think when Chris Youngblood gets to playing, I think the lineup with Youngblood at the 3, where it's Mark, LeBaron, Youngblood, Grant, Cliff, I think is a good one. I think if you want to go a little smaller, you move Grant to the 5 and have Darion at the 4. Really like that lineup as well, right? There's a few things that you can do, but currently, Jaron Stevenson, there's zero chance this guy needs to be in the starting lineup. He's having more of the blues. This is apparently the only place he knows how to shoot a 3 is in Vegas. His defense is okay, but it's not good enough to start. He does not need to be in the starting lineup. A couple of guys that we need to talk about at this game. First and foremost, the guy that needs his props is Trey Eaglestaff, the leading scorer of the game and North Dakota's player extraordinaire. He has 40 points and just was making absolutely everything. In my write-up for this game, I talked about him. Obviously, he's their leading scorer. He leads the Summit League in scoring over 18 a game. Hasn't had a game under 12 this season, but you don't expect 40, right? 40 is just on another level, especially against a team like Alabama. Me and Hojo, Hunter Johnson, watched the game together at session, and the only guy who we could think that had a game like that against Alabama where you just could not stop him no matter what you tried was Ja Morant. Ja Morant had 38, I believe, against Alabama a few years ago, and he was the only guy who I've ever seen Alabama play and just not be able to stop no matter what you threw at him. And it was just a situation where if you look at this game and Eaglestaff has 25, right? So he still leads the game in scoring, but he doesn't have 40. He has 25. Alabama wins this game by 22, and there's less people saying the sky is falling, right? I think the reason everyone says the sky is falling, it's a 7-point win, Alabama's down at half, right? All those reasons I understand, but it's okay, right? You played on the road. You were able to get Grant the home game, and it was a really, really cool atmosphere. If you've not seen any of the videos put out on Twitter about all the people that showed up before the game, stayed after the game, his reception when his name was announced during lineups, just in general, it was an awesome homecoming for Grant. I think he really enjoyed being able to be back home, be able to play in front of his hometown crowd, be able to go back to North Dakota, right? It was a really cool game, right? But at the end of the day, these things happen, and the sky is not falling just because you didn't play well, right? I think a lot of it has to do with the lineups. You look at the lineups, and there's only 2 guys that played over 30 minutes with Grant Nelson and Mark Sears. LeBaron Philon plays 24. There's not another guy on the team that plays more than 19, right? So clearly, coach is moving around with the lineups a little bit and trying to see what works. I understand that, but you still need to play with some level of continuity to get your shooters more accustomed to how they're playing. I think the shooters that shot well in this game, outside of Mark Sears, of course, LeBaron Philon, Chris Youngblood, Houston Millette, all make 2 threes. But the guys I want to mention are the 2 quote-unquote newcomers, and it's Houston Millette and Chris Youngblood. Chris Youngblood goes 2 of 4. Again, the trigger is absolutely lightning fast. Funny enough, one of the ones he missed was actually one of his slower releases on the day. You can just tell his defense and how he's going to play. He did have a couple of turnovers, but it really, I wouldn't worry too much about that. I think that in general, I think that Chris Youngblood, once he's back full steam, I think that he is going to be somebody that needs to be in the starting lineup and needs to play significant minutes. The three-point ability, the defense, the knowledge of just playing the game, the length of time he has, it really jumps off the screen, and you know how well he's going to play. And then the other guy you got to talk about is Houston, right? Houston Millett, when you think of Houston Millett, you think of knockdown shooter. You think of a guy who does what it takes for the team to win, obviously pulling his red shirt to be able to play with Latrell being out. But it's a situation where the thing he did in this game that you don't expect out of Houston is he led the team in offensive rebounds. One of those offensive rebounds is a really cool play, and Blake Byler highlighted it, and I know some other people did as well, where Houston saves an offensive rebound going out of bounds, passes it to Grant, who kicks it back to Houston for an open three, right? So that just shows that he hustle, right? Do what it takes for the team to win. And I think that's what Houston gives you. He gives you whatever it takes for the team to win. That's what I'm going to do. He's also a great knockdown shooter. I thought that his best threes come off of in rhythm, in transition, or just full-on in-rhythm threes. He's not great off the pull-up, but that's okay, right? In Nado's offense, you're going to get a lot of off the catch. And so I think that he's somebody that if he continues to give you those hustle plays, those type of offensive rebounds, those types of just doing what it takes for the team to win, he's got to find minutes, right? He's got to have minutes as you shrink the rotation because he is, A, pulled a red shirt for the Trelly, but also, B, just does what it takes for the team to win and can hit knockdown shots and has proven to be able to hit knockdown shots at a consistent rate. Right, he actually closes this game out, which I don't think is something anybody expected, but closed this game out in the final minutes and made some big plays down the stretch to help the team win the game. I think he also led the team in plus minus. Right, so this is just what Houston has done for you. You have to credit him. You have to give him the minutes, and really props to him. Right. So we'll talk a little bit about the changes in KenPom because I know a lot of people ask about it. Funny enough, Alabama actually went up in KenPom from an offensive standpoint, albeit slightly, because their 2-point percentage is now 5th in the country. Offense still sits at 6th in the country. The defense, as expected, did drop pretty substantially. They were sitting around 30-something. They're now sitting at 57. That's to be expected when you give up the amount of points that you did to North Dakota. Again, you gave up a 1.2 to North Dakota. If you give up, if he gives up 25 points to Eaglestaff, you're giving up a 1.0, right? So a lot of the scoring is going to have to do with just how elite Eaglestaff was in this game, and you have to give him his props, right? He made shots over defenders no matter who we put on him. We put size on him, we put quickness on him, and he just was making shots, right? So really props to him. Good offense beats good defense any day. Now, there was some poor defense as well. I don't want to say it was perfect defense by Alabama, but it was not all just bad defense, right? A lot of it was just really good offense. So that's what I want to talk about with that game. Like I said, the sky is not falling. It's going to be okay, but, it happens. And you live and you learn, and you won the game, and now you get back into Coleman, and you're going to see what happens.